I don't know if you've managed to see the Anton Daniels and Corey Holcomb situation. Something that kind of blew up on the internet. And it was a situation between Anton Daniels, who is a entrepreneur. He has a YouTube channel, big YouTube channel. And then obviously you got Corey Holcomb, who's a comedian. He's been in the game for a number of years. But I think I want to speak on today about the perception and how perception is not always reality. When it came down to the two who were scheduled to have an interview on Corey's show, going in, you've got two different people from two backgrounds that you could say some of their fans may cross over, right? But you're going to have two different people nonetheless who have two different opposing views. I think, and if you've noticed any kind of, assessments on Anton Daniels particularly, I think people have a viewpoint on Anton Daniels that, and when I mean people, I mean black people, certain of, parts of the black culture. I think they have a viewpoint on Anton Daniels, as if he is not credible. He's not part of the typical understanding of what black people are about and what they go through, right? I think they have maybe an opinion that doesn't really resonate in ways where it's probably completely true. I think Anton Daniels, based on what I know and based on what I've seen of Anton, he has a platform that has a big audience. He has black people, I'm sure. He has different backgrounds. He's grown up in the hood. He knows what the hood life is like. And he's managed to be out of that environment. He's managed to be successful in what he's doing, right? So there's a perception on people like Anton Daniels, I've noticed, just in general, not just Anton, but if you're a black person and you're a person that may have come from an environment that wasn't the best, may have come from the hood, or as we say in the UK, the road, right? If you're from those environments and you're eventually able to do decent in life, or just be a decent individual, works, maybe has, gone out of that environment, speaks well, is well-to-do, commands himself well, articulates well. When a person has that kind of demeanor and way about them, I've noticed they can sometimes be looked upon as they're not the typical black person that shows that they are for the black experience and for what typically some black people may assume is black, if you know what I mean. It has this kind of, they are different, they're a sellout, sort of. And these are all perceptions that people just go by just on face value. They don't know the person, they don't know how the person works, what the person's ideologies are completely. They just go by what they may see, what the person presents. And I've noticed this within the black community mainly, as I'm looking at the black community. I'm sure there's other communities that have these kinds of views about certain people when they manage to, move forward in life and maybe have a certain opinion that doesn't align with maybe other people's views within a community. But I would say someone like him has that viewpoint, in my opinion. This is outside of his audience, because he's got a big audience. So he's got an audience that mess with him, that feel him and feel what he says and what he's about. I'm talking the perception outside of his audience on an Anton Daniels type of person, which I've said in the black community exists within black culture. There's this viewpoint that they're more inclined to be more aligned with what other people think and what white people are about, as opposed to what their own people are about. Now, Corey, he is more, in my opinion, described, I would say, as more someone that has a street element to him in his ideologies. Someone that has been in the streets, as in grown up in the hood, but has now managed to make a transition and do his thing. And he has a form of success as well. He's got an audience. He's been doing comedy for over 20 years. And he's somebody that if you're looking from the outside looking in as a black person who maybe is from a middle class, working class environment, they will look at him as, oh, he's more in tune. He's more understanding of the black plight. He's more understanding of the issues that the man have caused to the black experience. He's more understanding, basically, because of his maybe rhetoric on his platform, or just in general of how he speaks about the issues that affect black people, or how he claims he's not conformed to the white man's way in order for him to succeed as well and be, you know, prominent in what he does. So you've got two people who will have two different perceptions if you're just looking at them on face value, right? But I'm saying, based on what I've seen, and just in general, generally in life, and based on what I've seen on this particular two, people, having a perception and getting it wrong can really be a problem. And I think in this exchange with Anton and Corey, it got wrong from Corey. The perception from Corey was wrong on Anton because he stood on his beliefs. If you watched the interview, he stood on what he thinks made sense about what he was saying. Then on top of that, he's a person that it seems has showed himself to hire black people in his team. He's made it clear on his views on marriage that he's for marriage. He's for two-parent households. He's not for the degeneracy within black culture. And on top of that, he's not showed himself to have any kind of dodgy, at the moment, business dealings. So anything about him has come up, for the most part, to be decent. And on top of that, like I said, he stood on what he believed. Now, a person like Corey, who would be considered more understanding to the street, more understanding to black people of a certain demographic in terms of like I say, working class, from the hood, those people are considered more realer generally in the black community because they may have, not saying him, but people like him may have put in work on the streets. They may have been about that life. But it didn't matter in that instance because it showed someone who was perceived or could be perceived as more understanding and realer to the black community couldn't contain somebody who was deemed or who is deemed potentially a sellout. He couldn't contain someone like him. He couldn't get his way over someone like that because it's always considered that the street person will get his way over the square, right? But in that instance, it showed you that it's more important to perceive people correctly and don't go to any kind of assumptions in general, in life, in anything you do, because it can be dangerous. Anton, Corey, when they got into that interview, they came in definitely with perceptions of each other. But I think the shock of who came across a certain way was Anton. The shock that I'm sure people had was that Anton came across in a way that they didn't expect because of the fact that they had a viewpoint that he was or is not for the black community. He is just a talker online, but it showed otherwise, that you cannot put people in boxes. You can't perceive incorrectly until maybe you meet someone and then you can make your own assessment of them. And on top of that, if you believe he's not for the black community, he does hire, according to him, black people. Majority of his staff, he says, are black. He is married to a black woman, from what I understand. And on top of that, I also remember or have seen perceptions about him because people assumed he was married to a white woman. So all of this just shows you that you have to be mindful in life about having perceptions on people and how those perceptions, the judgments you have, can make you look silly eventually if you're not informed. And then you can sometimes come across to somebody incorrectly and issues can take place because that person that you think is sweet ain't as sweet as you thought. And normally the street person is generally praised as being the realest. But in the exchange, if you watch the Anton and Corey exchanged, exchange, it didn't show that the street person was the realest in that, or the street ideology person, or the person who has more, if you want to call it, less of a sellout persona, didn't come across as controlled, as real as he could have. And that's just me from a neutral standpoint, looking from outside, looking in, that it's important to have an understanding of what you're doing and who you're dealing with, and going in with an open mind. Now, those two guys, they have their audiences. Those two guys, they're doing what they're doing. But I will say, unfortunately, it took a turn for the worse. And for them to be grown-ups, adults, it shouldn't have gone to that level. But if someone says something in a certain way, you can't determine how that person will react to a perceived disrespect. And I think that's what took place. Anton, in his eyes, was disrespected, so he disrespected him back. And that's how the issue ensued. But for me, it's important to realize, like I say, perception is not always reality, and being very careful and mindful when you're moving and how you're moving. So this is more of a teachable moment that I took from it, because when I first saw it, I thought, ooh, this is interesting, because of the sort of perceptions that I've seen people have of both of them. But the surprise was mainly from Anton and how he depicted himself. And on top of that, how Corey depicted himself was probably expected, but not how Anton did. And how perceptions are important, but also perceptions going into things, if you're not assessing it right, are not always reality. But also, in conclusion, I will say, the key here is, because obviously they were going to speak about, I'm sure, societal issues, political issues, and just issues in general that affect the world. The key is, takeaway I would say, is to not have a perception on people when you are not informed of them, to do your research on them as much as you can. And even if you come to a conclusion that you're not a fan of that person, even when you've done thorough research, then fine. But it's important to look at, when someone is perceived a certain way, look at what they are actually doing. If this person, particularly in the black community, is married, hasn't had kids out of wedlock, is not into the whole baby mama, baby father thing, he employs black people for the most part, or he employs people a lot of the time, puts food, on people's tables. You've got to look at it and say, what is the main goal when black people get together? Should it be for the betterment and trying to find out about solutions? Or should we always speak on the fact that this black person is speaking negatively about black people? But the question is, why is he speaking, or why is a black person sometimes speaking negatively about a situation involving black people? Is it the degeneracy of black people that he speaks on? Is it the issues that he sees within the hood culture? Is it the issues that he sees with anything that is affecting us that he speaks about? Or are you just not happy the fact that he doesn't, or not he, but just in general, when black people speak on black people, you're not happy when people speak from a standpoint of, this is what we need to do better, this is what we need to do, these are the issues? Do you want people to not tell the truth? Even if you don't agree, do you want people to not tell their truth about what they see? And it seems sometimes in the black environment, or with black people, we don't want to tell the truth about things that affect us. Now, with Corey, and a person like Corey, he will talk about the issues, but the solutions won't be the main focus. I notice sometimes an Anton and a Corey type of person, they will talk about things from different perspectives. Corey will talk about the issues that the man has caused. Anton type person within the black community will talk about the issues that black community have and how we should move forward. Corey will talk about how blacks can move forward, but it's more of a, the man is doing this, the man has done this. Okay, so if that's the case, which is the case, there has been instances of history to show you that, the man has done things and create conditions that are not, the best. But what are the solutions moving forward? And how are we going to look at these things and say, okay, when are we going to interject in any generation to make change? Are we just going to keep talking about the mess the man has made, or are we going to talk about how we're going to clean it by being more on a unified front? And I think us picking at each other in the black community or with black people about this person is a sellout, this person is a tap dancing person, this person is more Rilla. The main focus should just be about how to improve the black experience if we deem there's problems. And this is not just in America, this is just black people in general, you know, around the world, because there is a notion about us, but the notion can be improved if we look at each other better. And I think that's where this whole thing could go or should go. Looking at each other better and not saying this person is this person is that, based on your false perception that could be wrong. And it turned out, in my opinion, the perceptions were wrong about an Anton, because an Anton type of person is generally demonized because they assume he's only one-sided. But if I've seen a person that is speaking about the negatives of our community or of the black environment, within the hood environment, whatever it is, what is the issue with that? If it's all about coming up with solutions. If we know there's issues, people have different ways of going about speaking about solutions. And it just seems that sometimes you can get misconstrued in terms of what you're saying, as opposed to the importance of just getting the solution. We shouldn't get bogged down in the feelings of what is being said about the community. We should just look at solutions. It's best to look at what we can do, as opposed to saying this person is this person is that, he ain't real. And it probably proves that you could be wrong because that person could be doing more for the black community, but you're just not aware and you're just not privy to it. It will be interesting to find out what people think. Like the video and let me know.